Jess never entertained the advances of other men, they said, but as I stood frozen by the dairy aisle, her whispered confessions about secret lovers chilled me to the bone. Our home, a beautiful lie, our love, a delicate facade. With each unveiled affair, my trust crumbled, leaving me to sift through the wreckage of our life together. This is my story. Enjoy watching it.
Matt and his wife, Jess, were both 49 years old. Their relationship followed a typical storyline. They first met in college at a party hosted by a mutual friend. After dating for several years, they had a grand church wedding with numerous guests and relatives in attendance. Their honeymoon in Hawaii was filled with the beauty of the azure ocean, refreshing coconut juice, and the radiant sun in the sky. Jess possessed a captivating beauty and could have easily pursued a career as a model if she desired. With her slender figure, tall stature, and long blonde hair, Matt often found himself marveling at how he had won over such a stunning woman. In his opinion, their married life was quite fulfilling, even surpassing that of many of their acquaintances. They never grew bored in each other's company and shared a love for traveling and exploring different cultures. After 10 years of marriage, they were able to purchase their own apartment, and another 10 years later, they bought an apartment for their adult son as he finished college and planned to live with his girlfriend. This was how Matt and Jess lived together in marriage for approximately 28 years. Even at the age of 49, Jess remained incredibly attractive and caught the attention of younger men. However, this never made Matt jealous, but rather amused him, as his wife never entertained the advances of these strangers. She never gave him a reason to feel insecure. Unexpectedly, Matt discovered her infidelity one day. His wife informed him that she had invited an old friend over. After her own wedding, this friend had moved to Alaska with her husband, resulting in infrequent meetings between the two women. Usually, they would meet in a cafe or nearby park whenever the friend visited her relatives and friends. However, this time they decided to spend time together at their own house. Jess politely requested that Matt find somewhere else to go so that they could have a private conversation. It was a normal request considering their small circle of friends. The husband was familiar with all of Jess's female friends, while the wife knew all of the man's buddies. They were both fine with inviting a small group of friends over and spending time together in the kitchen. One of them could entertain the guests while the other attended to their own tasks in a different room, went for a stroll, or even joined the gathering if they felt like it. Typically, they spent time separately with their own friends. Their relaxed approach to this situation may have been influenced by their lively past and shared love for socializing. During the first half of their marriage, they often found themselves in different locations, mingling with various groups and enjoying social events. Despite this, they always happily returned home together around noon. My spouse requested that I set the table and bring out the nice dishes from the cupboard. Afterward, she planned to pick up her friend from the airport, head into town for some shopping, and then return home to enjoy wine and sushi. Once Jess left, I spent a couple more hours at home before preparing to go out for a walk. Being alone allowed me the freedom to do as I pleased. We agreed to meet back at 8 p.m., so I stopped by the store to pick up some groceries. I called Jess to confirm what we needed, and as we said our goodbyes, I overheard the rest of her conversation with her friend. Intrigued, I listened in on their chat while shopping for groceries. They chatted about various topics, from gossip about mutual acquaintances to their own family relationships. This segment of the conversation piqued Matt's interest the most. What husband wouldn't be intrigued to hear his wife's thoughts about him? The women, not holding back on details, began sharing aspects of their personal or rather intimate lives. Furthermore, from their exchange of questions, it was evident that they both were well aware of what was happening in each other's bedrooms. The friend sadly disclosed that she hadn't been intimate with her husband for 2 years and had been involved with a colleague for about a year. She feared that the truth would eventually surface and her husband would discover her affairs due to Jess's composed reaction. The man realized that she was cognizant of the situation. She expressed sympathy and understanding towards her friend, prompting the friend to wonder how Jess managed to keep her affairs with other men hidden from Matt for so long while still maintaining a good relationship with him. The friend's tone held a hint of envy and admiration for Jess's enigmatic nature. Matt stood frozen by the dairy products, unable to believe what he was hearing. This was certainly not what he had anticipated. He quickly pressed the record button on the call to have evidence of what he had learned about his wife. The following hour of their conversation was filled with candid confessions from Jess about her infidelity. The first time she cheated on her husband was in 1998, 3 years after their wedding. The most recent incident occurred 2 years ago. When asked by the friend about the number of lovers Jess had, she couldn't provide an exact figure, but mentioned 4 significant affairs. She spared no details as she recounted her encounters with other men and the time spent with them intimately. She recounted these instances with precise facts and specifics. Matt listened intently, wide-eyed, unable to comprehend what shocked him more in this situation. His wife's adeptness at concealing her affairs over the years, along with the intricate details of some of them, is truly remarkable. For instance, at the age of 33, she engaged in a 2-month affair with a man 10 years her junior who was on the verge of marrying his pregnant girlfriend. Jess didn't seem to mind the age gap or the impending marriage, as she herself proposed their first intimate encounter while out on a date, suggesting they book a hotel room during one of her vacations. During a trip to France with her girlfriends, my wife had a brief fling with a foreigner she met at his apartment. Matt found it surprising to learn that the foreigner was apprehensive about contracting sexually transmitted infections, leading them to explore alternative ways of pleasure. However, the wife's preference for traditional intimacy led to the end of their romance before she returned home. As she recounted her escapades, my friend whimsically remarked that she would have plenty of memories to look back on in her old age. I couldn't bear to hear any more and abruptly ended the call, chuckling nervously. In Casper Bay, people at the grocery store cast judgmental glances at Matt, mistaking him for a drunk. Unfazed by the stares and hushed whispers, he even contemplated confiding in an elderly lady nearby about the years of deception in his marriage that had recently unraveled due to a pitiful phone call. Upon returning home, he found his friend gone and his wife nonchalantly cleaning up in the kitchen. When he inquired about their activities, she simply shrugged and claimed everything went smoothly. Jess retired to bed early, around 10 o'clock, and invited her husband to join her. But he declined, opting to sit in the kitchen late into the night, grappling with the idea of sharing a bed with such a duplicitous woman. Matt was filled with disgust. He contemplated delaying the conversation until morning and directly confessing to his wife about his knowledge of her affairs. However, the thoughts consumed him and prevented him from falling asleep on the couch. It was approximately 3 in the morning when Matt approached his wife and woke her up. The woman, still groggy, rubbed her eyes and couldn't comprehend why her husband was disturbing her at such a late hour. But her drowsiness quickly dissipated when the man began discussing her lovers. Jess's face displayed utmost surprise and confusion as the man proceeded to recount explicit details of her sexual encounters with other men. Eventually, genuine fear appeared in her eyes. It was uncertain whether it was due to the realization of her mistake or fear for her own well-being. Jess desperately grasped her husband's hand and attempted to justify her actions, but her arguments sounded like feeble excuses that Matt didn't bother listening to. All he could muster was the determination to inform her that they would file for divorce together on Monday. His wife pleaded for another chance and expressed her desire to remain by his side for the rest of her life. However, Matt remained resolute and didn't believe a single word she uttered. He understood that their relationship was beyond repair after years of deception and betrayal. As promised, on Monday, the couple initiated divorce proceedings. Matt yearned for a fresh start where he wouldn't constantly question his wife's loyalty. Although the divorce was a painful process, with time, he felt a sense of relief from no longer being tied to the woman who had betrayed him so deeply. He sold his share of the remaining property from the divorce settlement and purchased a small house outside the city, closer to nature and tranquility. Honesty compelled Matt to inform his relatives and adult son about the reason behind the divorce. even sharing the recorded evidence of his ex-wife's infidelity. Upon learning about Jess's betrayal, they severed all ties with her and refused any further communication. Despite being able to cope with the animosity from her former husband's family, the most painful aspect for her was her son's intense hatred towards her. He completely sided with his father and wanted nothing to do with her. Jess was devastated when Matt filed for divorce, as it not only meant losing her husband, but also her entire way of life. She made desperate attempts to win him back and pleaded for another chance, but eventually had to accept that their marriage was truly over. Deep down, she understood this reality. She acknowledged that she was to blame for what had happened, as she had deceived her husband for all those years. In an attempt to find solace, she engaged in casual flings, but this only intensified her feelings of loneliness and inner emptiness. This is the story of her situation. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments about the behavior of both spouses. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and kindly like this video. Your support will greatly contribute to the growth of the channel. Take care and have a wonderful day. Thanks for listening to One Infidelity Hit. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and drop us a like.